Well, hello everybody. Today I'm joined by Landon and Ryan from Aelius LED. These guys make some fantastic grow lights. I've seen them at grows. I've seen them with influencers. These things are amazing, and I'm very grateful to have them join the TobaGrown movement here and help bring some progress and some enlightenment to this Manitoba ban on homegrown cannabis.
So thanks for having us, Jesse. Your credentials. You couldn't have a better person representing the home growers in your province.
That means a lot, guys.
Thanks for having us on, Jesse. I'm glad to be here. Just so everybody, just for an introduction, I am Landon of the two of us. I am president of Aelius LED. Ryan is CEO. Sorry, Ryan, I take your glory.
CEO. It's a good partnership. Lanny knows everything about the lights, and I take care of the business side of things. We got about, I think we're up to 7 full-time employees now. We're just getting going. So to see something like this from the only province, it lights a fire under us as well too. So I'm glad, and we're here to support you however we can.
And no, you guys have been extremely supportive, and I'd love to just get into your story. You're a Canadian-based company. You've been helping big companies and at-home growers for a long time. Just let's hear the story. I'm just going to turn the mic over because you guys probably can tell it best.
I don't know, Ryan, do you want to
yeah, I mean, Lanny's we'll just feed off each other, I guess. Lanny's been in the LED world, design world for probably about 6 or 7 years now, something like that. And he's come to me a couple times. I come from a mortgage brokering background, so I've been doing that for 12 years. I have my own brokerage still here in Ontario, probably doing about 5% mortgage brokering, 95% lights right now, just because this is where the focus is, the trend. And we'll get into that later, just not about the cannabis. It's about growing vegetables and produce as well. But at the end of the day, Lanny came to me a couple times, wanted me to get into the LED business. And I just didn't see a need to do it yet until this cannabis became federally legalized. And basically the stigma was finally released. Well, in most cases, right? Medicinally, it has been there for a while, but now recreationally, it allowed you to grow your own, right? And hopefully save some money, because what I found from this industry is that it is much more of a science than you believe. So anyways, Lanny came up with this LED grow light idea, and to make a long story short, I said, Lanny, you really believe in this product? I need you to quit your full-time job, and you got to come do this. I'll get the backers and fund as much as I possibly can, and we'll grow slowly. We'll make sure we do this right. We're not going to come out and just say, hey, look at us, everybody. We're going to make sure the lights are working and get it in the hands of the right influencers, get the proper certifications, first of all. That was key. We didn't want to be one of these fly-by-night companies or do-it-yourself cobboard, right? Where we just end up, here's your kit, you go put it together on your own. We wanted to do this right and make something big. We just don't want to stop here. We're in about 11 countries right now, but Canada's always been where we started and will always be our home headquarters for sure. Lanny, that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, we've made sure that when we got into this, that the lights were a safe terms of use. Now, if anybody doesn't understand LED, it requires a specific driver box, which is enclosed, waterproof and everything, fireproof. And from there, it converts your home AC power down to DC, which is your 9-volt battery, your car power cigarette lighter. And so nothing to, harm human beings, animals with any kind of major shock or nothing. It's a different concept, this kind of lighting versus the old HPS. HPS, which, we've heard, have UV rays, but that would mean every light in Costco has UV rays too. So, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that goes on with these HPS lights. We have no UV LEDs in our actual lights ourselves. There are UV LEDs out there, obviously, for, certain types of use, and, fish tanks and air, cleaning for hospitals for COVID and stuff. So, we tried to follow all the, things that, kind of kept us safe for consumer use. So we didn't use any UV in ours particularly. All of our stuff is certified. So in Canada, you require if anything that plugs into line voltage, anything that you'd like to bring to market that plugs into line voltage is required to have one of three certifications. So CETLUS, which is Intertech, CULUS, which would be Underwriter Laboratories, or CSA, Canadian Standards Association. Only those three certifications are recognized in Canada for sales of products that plug into line voltage. So we went through CETLUS. It's quite a costly process. We can't lie about that. I mean, they demand that you have models for dropping into swimming pools, models to drop off buildings, all sorts of things for rigorous of testing to see where the components end up after certain things. So acts of gods, houses, roofs caving in on appliances and things like that. They test for all sorts of things, and we have to provide all the models to them. So it's very costly to do. It's a very it hurts you in the sense that you have to send all these models away and you get nothing back for it, and you spend a whole bunch of money on them. So that is it's a tough thing to do, which is a good thing, because it does deter a lot of people from actually doing things right. Now, nobody could ever stop the we'll call it the illicit market of electronics. So people bringing in all sorts of stuff from China that isn't certified. I mean, you couldn't stop the flow of that, but that counts for every product out there, even toasters, dehydrators, anything that could be commonly found in your household, China will make and not have a certification on. So lighting included, that goes with the territory. Other than that, I think, Ryan, what else do we have here? Other than certification.
What else you looking for, Jesse? I know.
Well, I had a question that came out from there. You mentioned you have to go through all this vigorous testing. You spend a lot of resources and time to get the certifications, and then there's products that either come through the black market or uncertified that cause a problem, and then that puts a spotlight on your entire industry. Is that fair to say? Because when I read the Manitoba.
It is fair to say, I think what ends up happening, those companies don't stay around for long. It's no pun intended, they get weeded out, right? So what ends up happening for the most part, you want to work here in Canada, or you want to sell lights in Canada, you either need those certifications that Lanny was saying, or there are different ways. You can create your own lights and get your local authority to actually somebody go over there and stamp it if you truly want to do it. But at the end of the day, the good lights will prevail, right? There are multiple different non-certified, not just electronics, but anything like Lanny was saying in this world. So to pinpoint the reason behind it, being one of the main reasons behind it, is that these things could cause fires, or they isn't enough research on LEDs, is BS, right? That's just another excuse that they're looking for. I noticed one of the affidavits too said ultraviolet light, like Lanny touched on. The amount of times you actually use UV in your grow is really minimal. Like I mentioned in my affidavit that I was going to send to you, you have a higher risk of skin cancer if you play golf outside in the sun 20 times a year. People are very careful with this stuff, and the amount of people actually using it, maybe I'd say 1 to 5% of the population. Especially for your home growers, right? They're not the botanists of the world or the scientists of the world that are actually in these commercial grow operations. The people that are using these commercial grow operations, UV type of lights, well, they are even more extremely careful. You've worked in LP yourself, you know how stringent and prudent everybody is with anything that goes into that operation. So again, I just find them really weak arguments, anything that she put in there, and I don't know what it is. I really don't know what her real goal is behind this.
Well, I mean, I read some of that whole blurb about it, and I mean, you're arguing like a left versus right scenario where, well, this could, you could tend to want to sell weed. Yeah, well, so you could tend to want to sell cocaine too. I mean, you could tend to want to sell anything you want to do illegally. I mean, what's stopping that part of the world? Nothing.
Well, what I don't understand either is she says you can accidentally have access to this, or you can get in their kids' hands. Shit, booze has been able to get, alcohol has been able to get in kids' hands for a long time, and that's poisonous. Cannabis, they're gonna fall asleep, right? Nobody's going anywhere.
They're not gonna make it to the bank to rob it. Exactly. That's the exact thing. It doesn't do the same kind of nonsense.
It's not an aggressive plant or anything. I mean, a lot of people just want to use it for pain, right? And it's or to fall asleep, save some money.
To bounce an idea off you, Ryan, or sorry, the thing that you were talking about, the UV. Now, I was unsure if they meant UV as in a supplemental light, which is available, obviously.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of, as a supplemental lighting.
The actual UV found in HPS, ceramic metal halide, and all these high pressure gas bulbs, which UK have abolished, which would be great if they abolish them in Canada, because you know what, we wouldn't be having this discussion. All those bulbs have UV in them naturally, and those bulbs have been in existence in every warehouse, every shop. Probably half the stuff we've grown up in, they've been over top of us. So I mean, if they're going to start worrying about the home market of a light captured in a tent that you're not even supposed to be under in the first place, these things are absurd. I mean, there must be a reason why there's only one province that didn't legalize this. Has to. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. So, any other questions, Jesse? Something else you'd like to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. Let's throw the government a bone here. People setting up to have a decent grow environment if they want to do it themselves inside a tent with good lights. That obviously comes at a certain expense. What can an average newcomer coming into this look to set up equipment there? Because that's obviously tax dollars that the government benefits from.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, very good point. You're right. Look at all the hydroponic stores, or even some of the bigger box stores, or your mom and pop hydro stores, right? Yeah,
residual
hydroponic stores. Yeah,
the residual products. If the guy's using cocoa, I know you can recycle. So a lot of people like to start from scratch and recycle a secondary batch. Soil. I mean, soil comes in and out, and they're putting it back to the earth where it came from. They're using it in their gardens after. I mean, all these things, these nutrients, which, I mean, I know they touch base on the pesticides and all this stuff, but if you want to grow anything like you are purchasing in the current stores, then you would want to grow with select nutrients that only have no high metals and that don't have any of this stuff. I mean, take Remo Nutrients, for example. Remo is a completely, synthetic organic line, with kelp and seaweed and things like this. And there's no fish and octopus and all sorts of stuff, and just straight up nutrients, like from the ground, synthetically made, obviously into a liquid form, and away you go, kind of thing. I mean, all this stuff is tax dollars. Ryan's right. I mean, so in the sense, to put a little system together, so a small 4-plant grow, simple. You want to go as small as a 4x4 tent, but you can't go any smaller than that. At least 1 by 1 square foot per plant. That tent could anywhere be from $99, depending on brand name, of course. It could be $500, but let's just say you wanted to do it kind of the local hydroponics shop, so the guy would sell you a tent for, just say, $250 for a really good gorilla tent. Then you're going to get some dire druck hosing, a couple low powered fans to suck air out, which go into a nice canister to contain all the smells, so your neighbors aren't peeing out. Listen, man, my own wife would be furious at me if she could smell it. And I mean, there's nobody even knows. I mean, I could still be hiding this from my parents at this age in my time. So that's the nice thing about, charcoal canisters and stuff. Those are really neat. They're not very expensive, and you got to keep rebuying them. Another reusable item, or another, item that's got to be purchased at all times. The lights themselves, they become more, not only just energy efficient, but they become more, green, we'll say, because the old bulbs have to be tossed, and there's a gas in there, and every time those bulbs are destroyed, the gas is released into our air. So once those bulbs are pulled, LEDs don't have this issue anymore. I mean, the LED lights on a regular grower's basis could last up to 10 years, especially if they're Aelius. If they're Aelius lights, man, you get 10 years, no problem. So I mean, now you're not throwing bulbs out, less waste, power's already lowered to them, and nobody's changing stuff. There's no fumes, there's no humidity, because the extreme heat of the HPS bulbs is what causes all this crazy humidity with the plants all in there and stuff. So now it's a matter of, keeping things drier. Again, that whole humidity thing, when you're in the tent, the humidity is not floating in your home and ripping paint off the walls. It's contained, exhaust fans back through the charcoal filter, a pair of lights, 4 pots, and you got everything. And if you were looking at a good setup, $15,000 to $2,000 a person could start growing. Now, is it going to be everybody?
It's the same as anything, right, Jess? I mean, you can get it as low quality as you want, or you can go get a Canada Goose type jacket and spend $1,000 on that, right? So we've seen them as low as 1,500, like Lanny said. It could be up to 3,500, right? I mean, it's totally up to you and how much you want to push the envelope. But Lanny, I didn't even think of that. You make some excellent points there too about how green the LEDs and some of these living soils, where you can rejuvenate the soil for a couple cycles. There's so much. Yeah, again, no pun intended. There's so much green in this type of industry. Jesse, if you win this lawsuit here, we're gonna go and sue every province to make them only use LEDs.
That'll be the next challenge. And I just wanted to touch on the setups, ranging from 1,500 to 35, give or take. That's an investment that growers get an ROI from. They like all the cannabis they go to stores to, or go to the legal market to purchase, versus growing at their own. Like they start to recoup some of that initial investment in the grow setup.
They recoup some of it, and like I said, a lot of this stuff's for pain. It's for sleeping. It's for nausea, anxiety. So who's suffering by this home grow? It's the pharmaceutical companies, right? So if people are growing their own and actually using their own product for all these ailments that they're used to going to the pharmacist for, I don't know, maybe that's who's behind it. It just makes no sense. And I think that's why it has been in prohibition for 90 years. As
somebody that's, not I won't call myself an experienced grower or any kind of master grower, none of the such, but just as a grower itself and a regular consumer. I'm not medically licensed to smoke. I waited for recreational marijuana to be legalized. Now, I spend a lot of money at this, and I realized that Manitoba was going for this to yes, we don't want to do this, but they got to also realize if they've never, ever, ever put a seed in a pot and never, ever turned a light on to watch that plant grow, it's kind of like watching paint dry. It doesn't happen overnight. Man, there's months of work involved. The trimming, the drying, a good drying experience is 3 weeks of it in darkness. You're not even smoking your product yet. You know what I mean? So you're still going to get your customers. And I think there's a very low percentage. I believe in that affidavit, it had a stat, and I kind of actually almost agree with the stat. Guys that are growing, unless the passion is there that they'll do it all the time, especially, man, keeping this COVID going on, everybody's going to grow. You want to kibosh your market, just keep the COVID up. That'll kill you. So right now, all these guys doing these grows at home and stuff, it takes so much work. They do it one time and they're like, I got enough weed there to last me for a little bit. And then they realize, well, my weed's not that good because I didn't know what I was doing. And then they're back to the stores, or they want to try again. So it's more or less becomes a hobby, and you probably only get about 16% of people that ever try it actually keep it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're going to get that all the time. It is. Like I said, there is a science behind this, and all these people have been doing it on their own and behind closed doors for the longest period of time. Kudos to them. They are some of the smartest people I've ever met. There's stuff behind this plant. This plant is so powerful, and there's stuff. If you haven't been doing it for a long period of time, just to pick it up and start doing it, it's going to take you years. So a lot of people, how the society is nowadays, the millennials, they need instant gratification. You're not getting instant gratification with growing a home. So if they think every second home is going to have a home grower, right? They're wrong, 100% wrong.
Yeah,
they'd rather just go to a store or order it online.
You got it. There's no way. I have access, obviously, to the best equipment there is available at my fingertips, and I have, attempted my second grow in my entire life with obviously seeds from the OCS. Just make sure it's clear. I bought all my gear legally from the Ontario Cannabis Store. I got seeds from Tweed. They turned out fabulous. I didn't use any nutrients. I used an organic living soil. This time I'm using a synthetic organic nutrient to try something new. Has it deterred me from spending money? If I look any longer than 2 seconds, I could probably find about $800 worth of bills just from my local store in the last 2 weeks. So it's not stopping anybody from. I still, as a if the government has never intake marijuana, they don't know what this means. It's not like you're a Budweiser drinker and just choose Budweiser to drink all day long. Us as marijuana cannabis smokers, I want Budweiser, Labatt, Molson, Heineken, Schliemann, all in a different array and a different day to have. You know what I mean? You
And
don't
mixed
want
together.
you got it. You just want it to have a variety of things. That's why there's so many strains. I mean, it probably has the most variety of one single plant ever in human being history. I mean, the crosses, the land races, the things that they've never found, the medical benefits. I mean, Jesse, I'm blown away that the PC government is actually fighting this, because I love Pierre Poilievre. I've just grown to love this individual on the Facebook level, and I spoke to him about this trial and I said, man, you got to throw this community a bone here, because this is the community that got Justin Trudeau elected. So just do some math in your head, do some thinking, channel your anger, fight another battle. This is a dumb one. You're talking about growing 4 plants your house. So what's next? You can't grow cucumbers? Oh no, gotta buy them at the store, man.
Yeah, wait till that becomes prominent, right?
Precedent for. That's what you're setting the precedent for.
Wait till that becomes prominent. You're right. You need a license to sell this stuff. Well, vegetables, right? We're not asking these people that are growing at home. They're 4 plants. They're not getting the weight. They're not getting the yield. They're not getting the terps. They're not going to squish it, and they're not going to turn it into any large scale operation. They're just doing it because maybe they have nothing better to do. They're semi-retired. They do like the plant. They want to try it. Like Lanny said, or like we said, they're not, most people aren't going to continue it. And if they do, they just like, it's a hobby, just like gardening is, right? It's just like other sports or reading a book. It's a hobby. And that stigma is still there. That's exactly what they're going after. The stigma is there, but slowly but surely, month by month, it is going away. And as we find a new cannabinoid that does this, a new cannabinoid that does this for you, I think by the time our kids have grown up and have their own grandkids, I think this will just be like somebody going out and having a drink at a restaurant. You're not going to think anything of it. If anything, alcohol is more poisonous than cannabis is.
Well, on that note, it is going to take months to get to the argument date. We're probably looking in November-ish, just based on how the scheduling agreement is looking. But while Manitobans, all the ones who want to grow but are waiting for this ban to be lifted, you guys want to throw messages their way from Aelius?
Oh yeah, a message from us to the Manitoban: hang tight. You know what I mean? We're not going anywhere. We're going to be around for a while. And I know, if anything, this might be a good thing, because a lot of these other companies that just got into it, just like we're seeing with some of these LPs, they got into it for the money or the greed. They're going to be gone. So by the time you end up growing, a lot of these other companies that have made it through and made it through the first couple of years of legalization, you're going to be dealing with the good companies and the companies you want to deal with. One of them will be us.
Yep. You can tell the Manitoba government that they will see the light. No pun intended on that one.
Oh, geez, that's a T-shirt right there.
That's a T-shirt.
What's above your plans? That's our new motto. We just figured it out.
Yeah.
Well, again, I can't thank you both enough. You guys have both been so supportive from the start, and really looking forward to getting this interview up there and shining more light on Aelius.
Nice, good stuff, Jesse.
Thank
Anytime.
you, Jesse. Awesome.
We support you.
Thank you guys so
Keep it up.
much. We'll talk soon, eh?
Take care, Jesse.